Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Speaker. And sponsor, I'm really troubled by this bill, particularly as we've been having discussions about pretextual traffic stops, incidences of people being engaged with law enforcement when they aren't breaking or committing any crime, particularly when we are in need of dealing with such serious issues that we're now going to increase the amount of people who would be able to pull someone over for the tint in their windows deeply concerns me. And so can you explain how many more law enforcement officers this would impact? Who would be able to pull people over because they're concerned about the tint in the window, and if they're getting additional training related specifically to this?
Representative Kaplan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So members, essentially what you have now is you have full-time salary police officers and you have hourly police officers. Technically under the code right now, they can both pull over someone for a traffic violation, or excuse me, not traffic violation, for a window tint violation, right? So when you have a non-salary police officer that does this, what's happening is that they're going to court and attorneys are getting these cases thrown out because in code it only says a full-time salary police officer. So they can both pull them over right now anyway, but in code, only the full salaried police officers can do that. So this is cleaning up the code to say full-time salary and hourly, which they're already doing. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Representative Pearson.
Thank you. Again, I do not think this is something that should be prioritized. I understand the concern that you've articulated that's happening in courts, but the reality is law enforcement officers, whether they're part-time or full-time, I believe really do have more serious issues that they need to be solving and working on rather than whether or not somebody's tint is at 70% or 68% of the tintedness that we would anticipate or expect. My other concern still remains that individuals who are being pulled over is not being done equitably. You have research coming out of New York University that studied data of over 100 million traffic stops across the country and found that black drivers were about 20% more likely to be stopped than white drivers relative to their share of the residential population. The study also found that one stop, black drivers were searched about 1.5 to 2 times as often as white drivers. I believe that this issue of tinted windows can unfortunately become targeting of people that leads to an increase again in pretextual traffic stops of incidences with law enforcement that we do not want to increase having as it relates to the safety of our communities. I understand the desire, the need within the code to fix or ameliorate this, but the reality that we experience in our communities, that we experience across our country cannot be ignored. And this is again a law that is giving more permission for people to have interactions with law enforcement that are not necessary. We have and need our law enforcement officers to be doing way more than dealing with the tint of people's cars. And this investment of time and energy and effort is nothing more than going to be a wasteful use of resources that could be going to solving some crimes, solving murders that we are having in our communities and other problems. And so for those reasons, sponsor, and I appreciate your rationale for bringing this legislation, but for those reasons, I cannot support this.
Representative Kaplan.